Hello and welcome back to another part in my series about how I would have built Mike Bloomfield's guitar. Sorry for my lights flickering. I'm having a little bit of technical issues and I'm gonna try my best to fix that. And hopefully it will be fixed before the next video, but unfortunately I don't have time for it right now. So, where we left off was this body got the hole up here. We closed it up and we color matched and we filled it up. And today we're gonna take that cavity we had there and move it down. So basically, from up here, all the way down here. We're also gonna drill a new hole on the side and an access for the neck pickup, because as of right now, it doesn't go anywhere. You have a tiny little control cavity right here. That's for pulling the wire from the neck pickup. It's an old design, it's not really relevant any longer to have. I was considering plugging this hole up and color matching it as well to make it easier for me, because I could have just made a pickup ring. But as I know that some of you will not be able to do that with, for example, a glued-in neck on a guitar or something, I was thinking a better thing to do would be to make a custom pickguard. And so, in the next video, we'll tackle making a custom pickguard. And it's just because that's another step in the process, and it's more interesting maybe to see a video going another direction than just doing another color match. So, hopefully, you'll enjoy that. Let's get started and plugging up this hole. And again, I'm sorry about the lights. Okay, so a tiny little recap on his guitar. Obviously, they didn't cut the horn the way I did. That's the whole point of the series of videos. So if I put this pickguard on, roughly this is the way it would look. And the way they solved it here was that they measured out the same distance that you have around here, and they just cut a weird little notch like this. And you could definitely do that. Again, take the steps that I'm showing you and apply them to the kind of guitar you have and the amount of work you're willing to do. I am now at the stage where I'm making things to hide the fact that this was once a right-handed guitar. So that's what I'm sort of hoping to achieve. You have the control plate here, and it would have been sitting somewhat like this. Actually, most likely more like that. And obviously the reason why we're moving that is because the knobs would be in the way. And so we want to flip it over here. And the way we could find these metal parts that you get from Harley Benton are so cheap that you can bend them. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like my Fender Telecaster. I would not be able to do that. I'm sorry. Never mind. I'm getting off track. Sorry. The way I'm gonna figure out where this goes is actually kind of simple. The first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip this pickguard over and I'm gonna match it up the other way around, because I still want a connection where this cavity is. So I think that will make it very easy for me to find the placement, and I'm gonna put it so it's a little bit straighter, something like that maybe. Seems good to me. You could measure out a center line and measure the distance, but I'm gonna eyeball it. You could also just put it like to the side like this or something. That could be cool. Actually, I kind of like that. I actually think I'm gonna do that. I think that could make this guitar cool. So I'm gonna sidetrack from what my initial idea was, and I'm gonna put it a little bit on the side, just because I like how this looks. I'm using an awl. It's basically just a fat needle that you can poke holes with, and I'm doing my best to center punch a little tiny mark where the two end screws for this plate will go. And now I have those marks and I know where to drill. But we're not going to drill. Not yet. First, we're going to do some other measurements because we need to establish some points. So we're going to put a piece of masking tape and we're going to put it over these two dents and I'm going to look for them. And so I poke through the tape where I want the plate to sit. I'm going to double check it because tiny little dents are not that hard to fix, but filling an entire cavity might be a little bit annoying. And as long as you don't poke too far down and really dig in, you usually don't have to worry that much. I'm going to put 2 more pieces of tape down, one on each side of this, and that's just because my tape is a little bit thin. I don't have any thicker tape at the moment. Okay, so here's the body. I've pinned it down with 2 screws. They're just a little bit over the surface. You can see like that. And it's just to hold this in place so that I can do some measurements. And first off, I'm gonna take a pen and draw around the outside here, just letting the pen ride against the edge of the plate. And that's why we have the masking tape, because we don't want to have problem. Then I'm gonna do a circle for all the holes. Basically just transferring everything. And then I'm gonna do some measurements. I'm gonna take this and hold it up to the edge, and I'm gonna try to figure out where the middle between this hole here and this here is. And I can see here that if I go a little past 1 centimeter, like somewhere here, I'll be good on that side. And then I do the same thing here. A little bit past 1 centimeter is somewhere around here. I'm eyeballing it because I don't necessarily need it to be any closer. And you could definitely do this on a scrap piece of wood and make a template. And then you can do it again. But I'm going to show you how to do this without a template because maybe some of you don't have the luxury of a template. And now I can line this up because I know this is square. I can line this up with the border here, and I can move those lines across the drawing like so. And now I know that I have enough wood here for the screw to go into and not chip out. And so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add a lip, because obviously we can't cut to this edge here. This pen is about 1 mil and it's on the outside of the plate. So if we cut on this line and made a cavity here, the entire plate would just fall in. So we need to maybe make it about 3 mils. So I'm adding a little mark there. And I'm adding a little mark there. And now I can connect these lines. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so what I've done is that I've measured out a lip around and I've rounded it over a little bit. I've also measured out a point for me to drill. And the way I did that is I took the radius of the drill bit that I'm gonna use to find the center of it. And so now I can just take an awl and I can make a mark to help guide. And I'm just gonna drill a bunch of holes here to make a bunch of relief cuts, and then I'm gonna use my router to clean it up. And the way I do when I wanna make a cavity like this, I already have a video on freestyle routing, so if you wanna see more about that, you can watch that video. But essentially, I'm gonna go down maybe 5 mils or 6 mils, something like that. Somewhere around there, maybe 7, but not much more than that. 5 to 7 millimeters down into the body, and just make a super tiny little cavity. And I'm gonna spend some extra time making sure that I'm really happy with that cavity, and that I'm really following these lines that I've made for myself, and that I'm happy with it. And then I'm gonna use that cavity as basically like a ride-along, like a built-in template. Here is a bit. It's the kind that I'm gonna use in doing what I'm doing. And basically this part here is gonna plunge into the body. So if this is the edge of the wood, basically it's gonna get pushed into it like this, and then it's gonna spin and it's gonna cut it away. And I'm gonna make a cavity that is big enough for this little wheel that is on here, that is the bearing. And these cutters work that way, that this bearing will run along an edge and everything underneath will be cut away. That's how guitar templates work. And so by cutting out this cavity enough so that this bearing can ride on the inside, I will clean it all up and make a hole that looks perfect. I've put a bunch of masking tape on the body, which I hope you can see, and it's to protect the body so that it doesn't get damaged or dinged or anything like that, because let's remember that we're pretending like this is an actual expensive, nice guitar and not a kit guitar that I've painted. I would obviously be even more careful if this was a actual expensive guitar, but I'm trying to show you the steps I would take. I'm gonna go and do a bunch of drilling for these holes, and then I'm gonna clean it up. And I'll be back real soon, because I feel like I've filmed a bunch of drilling and routing, and I don't think you need to see that now, because it's not that exciting to see, as long as you know what it is I'm gonna do. And also just remember, do all these things slowly and take your time, and try not to stress out about it too much. And also just measure how far you go. You should leave about maybe 8 millimeters in the bottom. Okay, so here's the cavity now. I made it a little bit deeper than before because at some point I'm gonna upgrade to a bigger switch and bigger pots and, you know, things like that. And so I'm gonna need a little bit extra depth. But that's, you know, yeah. Now we can just remove the tape and go on to the next step. There's a little bit of residue here, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of cleanup. But it's just, you know, a little bit of lukewarm water and maybe some soap or something. I don't know. Okay, so here's the cavity, and I could just locate the marks that I made, and I could hold it up to the place. And if I look around, there are no gaps. Okay, so now we're gonna drill a hole on the side here where the output jack is gonna be. And first, I'm just gonna try to decide where I want the hole. And so I'm just gonna hold this up here, and I'm gonna do a mark. I like to try to put everything in some sort of line so that, like, oh, it goes through. So I will have the switch, the two knobs, and the output jack all in somewhat of a close direction. But I feel like this is a little bit more than I want, so I'm going to move it over a little bit like this. And I have masking tape on the underside, and I'm just going to make a mark like this. And then I'm just measuring the thickness and dividing it by half, and I'm making a mark with my pen, and I'm double checking it, so in between those two, and then I'll take an awl and I'll make a mark like that. Now I know where to drill. I'm going to start out by drilling a tiny little pilot hole, so I'll center this up and I'll look down the body. It's a little bit difficult for you guys, but I'm trying to make a straight line, and I start drilling. And it's good to look down this direction too, because you don't want to go in in a weird angle. Something like that. And now we can just enlarge this hole until it's the right size. Okay, I'm gonna try to show you here now. I drilled a hole into the cavity like this. That's for the wires. Then I enlarged the hole. And when I enlarge the hole, I'm going with the flatness of the body because the jack is gonna sit right out. It's not going in any weird angle because it's sitting on a flat piece of metal. So then I go in straight like this. And so, I don't know if you can see that in the hole, I basically have like two cavities. I have that tiny mark you see there, and then I have the hole there that goes to this hole. So I hope that makes sense. Leave a comment if it doesn't, because I understand if this can be confusing. One goes like this, that's for the actual plug-in, and one hole goes like this, and it's for the wires to the plug. Okay, so the next step is that the old cavity is obviously gone. We all know that. This here I could have removed, you know, but I didn't because we're gonna make a pick guard in the next video. But the issue we're facing right now is that the cables are supposed to be pulled here to a cavity here that doesn't exist. And so we need to drill a new hole. And I'm gonna go this way with a very long drill bit, like this one. Or actually with this one. And then I'm gonna do the same thing and drill a hole here so that I can pull the bridge pickups wires through here and the neck pickup wires through here and then there. And then I'm gonna drill a tiny hole in the side right here for the bridge connection. If you touch your guitar, chrome parts and a little bit of hum goes away, and sometimes it can even be sounding a little bit like a pop, you most likely have a ground issue. Whenever I've repaired a guitar for someone and that has been the case, that they have those pops, it's always been a ground connection, or at least like 99% of the time it's been the ground connection. So we're gonna do that. But before I start, I just want to say that if you're doing this sort of mod on a guitar that has a glued-in neck, you can't drill from this direction like this because the neck is in the way. But what you can do is you can take off the strap button and you can drill from that end to here and then there. Then you can take a dowel that has the same thickness and that is this long, and you can just plug that entire hole up. And especially if you buy a dowel of hardwood, which most dowels are, you can plug that up with some wood glue on and no one will ever notice it. And if you take a size of drill bit that is the same thickness as your strap button, even though I think you should cover it up with paint and stuff like that, it will disappear because the strap button is covering it. And so you could definitely do that. I'm obviously not going to bother doing it that way because it's kind of silly. I'm going to move the body over like this, and I'm going to plug this in to my drill, and I'm just going to go like this. And I just drill through this tiny little piece here, and then drill through this piece here. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to put this on the body like this and drill. And I might actually put something on here to not scratch the wood, like a piece of metal or something. I have these U-bracket pieces of metal that I usually will use. They are just a tube that I've cut on the length to make them into U. And it's perfect, you can put it in there. You can start the drill and the drill will lie on the piece of metal and not scrape the wood. So let's zoom in a little bit and just drill these two holes to begin with. Something like that. Hole goes in there, comes out there, goes in there, and comes out here. So now I'm just going to move the body over like this so that the cavity is on the opposite side of me. And I'm just going to line my drill up like this, move it over here, and drill out the hole. Super simple and easy. So we've drilled a hole here and a hole here. And now we need to drill a hole here. And if you look really closely, which I don't know if you'll be able to see, right here there is actually an old hole. And it's the ground wire that will be connected to the bridge plate. And you need to have this. Different kinds of guitar have these holes in different locations, and you can drill directly to the cavity over here if you wanna, but you could also, if a pickup cavity is close, you can try to drill as close to that. Now, depending on what kind of bridge you have, there are different things. If you have something like a Stratocaster, you will have a claw on the backside, and you will have a ground connection to that claw. If you have a Les Paul, you will have ferrules that have been plugged into the body, and you will drill a tiny little cavity there from that inside of that hole. And on a telecaster like this, you'll drill a tiny little hole like this, just connect like this. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Like so, because it was filled with paint from when I painted it, and now I can just push a wire through there and get a connection. And I can tug it in and put it in along the inside edge. And it will all be good and grounded and connected. So, here's the body and the neck. I put it on because we're getting close to being finished, at least for now. Maybe I'll do something weird with this later on. I don't know. Next time we'll make a pickguard. I'm gonna start working on the design. You can go really crazy with it, which I'm thinking I'm going a little bit crazy. I don't really know yet. I hope you'll stick around to watch that video. I think this looks like it could become a really nice new guitar model. You could really go crazy with this and have a lot of fun. And I hope to hear from you guys that you are having fun building guitars and sharing with me pictures and videos of you making something awesome. That's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the videos that I'm making. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this guitar and what I've shown you, and if you've learned something. Stay awesome and cool, and until next time, go and design a new kind of pickguard and make an old guitar look like something new and crazy. Maybe a Stratocaster with, I don't know, 9 pickups.